This is a bit of a different presentation today because unlike a lot of the individuals here who are suppliers involved directly in the hydrogen and fuel cell sector, Salzgitter AG is quite a bit different. So if you could perhaps give a little introduction and overview about the company to some of the people in the audience, that would be a really great start.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Salzgitter AG is the second biggest German steelmaking company. And our main facility is around 70 kilometers from Hanover, still in the province of Lower Saxony. And we are operating an integrated steelwork there with 3 blast furnaces and an annual capacity of 5 million tons of crude steel per year.
So as a steel producer, what have you noticed in terms of challenges within your industry? What has been happening in the landscape and also within your company that was the driving force to start the SALCOS project?
The main driver, as you may imagine, is the CO2 emissions, which are inevitably connected with blast furnace iron making and BOF steel making. So we started the project around 4 years ago to address this question, first technically and then, of course, later economically. And this was the starting of the SALCOS project, and this was our main driver, CO2 emission reduction.
So regarding the SALCOS project for CO2 emission reduction, who's involved in this project? Do you have any partners involved in any particular projects that you're working on with it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have on one side the Fraunhofer Gesellschaft, which you probably may know, one of the big German research organizations. And on the other hand, we are working together with Tenova, which is a supplier of process technology in the field of iron making. And we are focusing on an approach which is called carbon direct avoidance, meaning that rather than using CO2 from the processes for conversion into chemical compounds, we decided to use a unique feature of iron making, which is the fact that carbon in our reduction reactions, meaning in the reactions which remove the oxygen from the iron ore, can be replaced by hydrogen. And as carbon creates CO2 when being used for this task, hydrogen just creates water in the end. So, and the main feature is that we are targeting a special process which is already available on an industrial scale on a natural gas basis. Natural gas is, despite being fossil, it's already half hydrogen, let's say this, and so it's much better than pure carbon. And these processes have the possibility to also use hydrogen instead of natural gas, and also in flexible portions. So we could start early, as natural gas is more available than hydrogen at the moment, but we can ever increase hydrogen content even on a fluctuating basis up to 100% in the end and zero natural gas. And thus we can do something now, something already very significant, without doing wrong with prospect for the future. So this technology is called direct reduction.
So in terms of direct reduction, are you currently doing anything at your processing plants right now in the production process at this present moment? Or is this a future scale project, or is it implemented currently?
It's not implemented currently. What we already have implemented is electrolyzer capacity to get to know special aspects of the technologies. We are operating a high-temperature electrolyzer facility in Salzgitter. We will build a second one, and also to be built is a PEM electrolyzer of 2 megawatts during the next month. But those hydrogen facilities will not feed our metallurgical processes for iron and steel making, but our annealing lines, which we use to heat treat the finished steel. But anyway, we get acquainted to the technology. So the main part of the project, transformation to natural gas slash hydrogen-based iron making and electric arc furnace steel making, is something for the future. But for the near future, when you look at the technical side, the main challenge is that moving away from coal and using electricity and hydrogen for the process means changing from a relatively cheap energy provider like coal to a still today, more expensive energy like electricity and natural gas. And the steel being produced via this route is still mechanically the same as today. And the only new feature is that it is being decarbonized. And the main challenge to make this reality is to put value to this new property, to enable our customers to benefit from using decarbonized steel. And the current political framework does not allow for that. So our main task is, and this is why we are here at the Hanover Fair, is to present our concept, to show that we are technically prepared to start on short notice, virtually tomorrow. But we need to discuss how to create this framework. It's an offer to politics and society. That is how we understand it.
How do you foresee something like this being financed? Who needs to be involved in terms of partnerships? So what are you hoping to achieve in terms of getting other players involved so that you can actually set up the framework for this project to be enacted?
For starting, we need an investment of roughly 1.3 billion euros. As we have really large facilities, we have to invest heavily. And this is something where we ask for public funding for the investment, and we are targeting the European Innovation Fund in this direction. It's not yet available, but we think by beginning of next year we will be able to apply for the fund, and we hope that we are successful. So from a CapEx point of view, we hope that probably by 2021 we will have a decision if we can implement that, and that leaves us quite some time for discussing the framework I already mentioned.
In terms of getting companies incentivized to do such, because their operation costs can be affected, what is something that can be offered to companies like for them to make this switch? Other than obviously we all want our economy to be decarbonized because we want to reach our 2030 zero emission targets, but what is the incentive for one of the companies here to do something like this?
As soon as we can take the decision to make this project reality, I think the main connection will be to technology providers for electrolyzers, because we are let's say open technology-wise for the production of hydrogen. There's no one single partner already there. With respect to the direct reduction technology, we already have a partner where we just signed a cooperation here on the trade fair. This is the company Tenova of Italy, which supplied the so-called energy iron direct reduction technology. But this is not the case in the field of electrolyzers. So to give you an idea what we are talking about, for the first implementation stage, just for running, let's say, 1/3 of the needed energy via hydrogen into the plant, and the rest would still be natural gas, we would need an electrolyzer capacity of 330 megawatts. So, and I think it's likely to be a combination of different technologies. High temperature electrolyzers are a very nice technology as long as you have waste heat available to supply energy for steam production, for running the electrolyzer. As soon as these are all covered, then you probably have to change to PEM or to alkaline, and this is not yet decided what it will be. So I think this will be a strong incentive for, and we'll get a lot of people involved.
In terms of the project, we discussed the framework and how that needs to be created. What exactly is involved in this? What do you see as the working process and the steps necessary to drive this and get this started tomorrow? What needs to be done?
It's a relatively complex thing, as we have different political partners to be involved. This first, our local political partners here in Hanover, because that's our province government. Then we have, of course, the national level in Berlin, and we have the EU Commission in Brussels. In Germany especially, there's one topic we have on electricity. We have the so-called EEG fees, which lead to very high electricity prices. If we were to run such large hydrogen production facilities with electricity under this EEG regulation, it's virtually impossible. So this is the thing which we have to discuss, how to enable the use of electricity for this task. I think we are not the only ones discussing that, because in general this is something which is a task for everybody, anyone who is thinking about running electrolyzers on a large scale in Germany today. And the other thing is how to create a level playing field for our steel product in Europe. Steel is a globally traded commodity, and if we produce decarbonized steel and we don't have an internal market for that, somebody from outside Europe can import to Europe, most probably without any CO2 reduction costs, and so we have to compete with them at the moment. And at the moment, there's no let's say, taking into consideration the CO2 load of foreign steel. And this is something which we have to incorporate into a complete system.
So in terms of, it's almost like a regulation piece and a bit of like who's the deciding body who needs to create this framework and implement it. Do you have any opinions or thoughts of like who you would like to see be involved in this in terms of the political landscape of like who needs to be at a table actually creating this framework?
It's mainly the European Commission and the European Parliament, but of great help could, of course, be the support of any organization which is facing the same challenges as we do. And we know our colleagues from chemical industry, from refineries and everywhere, they have all the same questions. So it's not basically a steel issue, but an industry decarbonization issue. And so, but I may say that our partners, they have already open ears. It's not like they are not discussing with us. Everybody is aware that 2050 decarbonization goals are approaching fast. And considering the investment cycles, the long investment cycles in industry, we think that we need to decide early on the implementation on large scale, because otherwise we cannot reach the targets in 2050. And we feel that politics is aware of this fact, and that everybody is open to discuss how to enable it.
In terms of the companies here, how can they get involved in this project if they would like to? Is there a process in which the other technology suppliers here could get involved to be a part of this decarbonization project?
I think at the current level, which we are discussing, as we are not placing any orders already now, it's mainly on a society level, meaning we are also a member of Hydrogen Europe, we are members of the German Hydrogen Association, and through these channels I think we can also generate support for our ideas. So in case of, let's say, special companies, I think this is too early at the moment.
Okay. I'm going to open it up to the floor for some questions from the audience.
Yes.
Does anyone have any questions regarding the SALCOS project at all this afternoon? Okay. you're not exhibiting in the Hanover Messe exhibit within Hydrogen Fuel Cells Europe as a steel producer. So if you do have any further questions regarding the project, please go visit booth number 6 in Hall 5. And I'm sure you'd be happy to answer any questions on a personal level. Thank you so much for your time with us today. I really appreciate you being here and speaking with me.
Welcome. And I may add, we have a nice virtual reality cave there on our booth where we show how our works could look like in the future, where we already implemented the main components for the first conversion stage. And it's very realistic, and as it's not just a showpiece or a gimmick, it's based on actual plant data. And this is something which you probably will not find anywhere else.
That sounds really exciting. I'm going to go check it out. Okay, everyone, please visit booth 6 in Hall 5. Thank you.